Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
We're going to dive back into the foundational conversation of Rock the Stage and what we do with media branding and helping leaders amplify themselves as a top-tier leader. I talk about the brand of you. People brand it different ways. You've heard them here on the show. But the marketplace is getting louder than ever now. Everyone's shouting to be seen and heard and followed. But in the middle of all the noise right now, how do you rise above it? That's the question we keep going back to here. My guest today is David Newman, certified speaker professional, popular keynote speaker, and the author of a new book coming out called Eminence. 22 strategies of building a bold personal brand, becoming a business celebrity, and drive unstoppable growth. By the way, he works with founders, mid-market CEOs, and professional services who want to play bigger, grow faster, and become a category of one. Don't we all? David's also the host of the globally ranked #1 podcast, The Selling Show, which you may have checked out, or you should, with over 500 episodes. So please welcome to Rock the Stage Show. Here is David Newman. Come on in.
Great to be here, Rich. And I am ready to pull the trigger, baby. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Well, man, we had a lot of fun getting ready for this. We play in similar circles. We talk about the same stuff. But I always love learning the different slants between everybody. But I caught a statement you made once, and I'm going to just kick it off with this. You said, and by the way, I wonder if leaders really believe this. I wonder if they really get what you're putting out there. In a world drowning by copycat thought leaders and AI-generated noise, the worst thing you can be is forgettable. Do you think fellow leaders out there understand what the heck you're saying?
The smart ones do. So like just even saying that, I've turned some people off.
Right.
It's like, well, wait a second. So Newman, is this book for everybody, for every CEO, for every founder? Heck no, Rich. It's not. It's totally not. The ones who don't get it, and this is so perfect. The ones who don't get it, the ones who I'm not vibrating on their frequency. Yeah. They're not responding to the kind of problems that I'm calling out in the marketplace. Yes. This is not for them. And I think that might be lesson number one, is stop trying to be universally liked, universally respected, universally bought from, universally appealing. I think there's a strong energy in the marketplace that says, as a CEO, as a founder, as a business leader, we can't afford to offend anybody. And I want to blow that up.
Thank you. Please do.
Here's the deal. If you don't risk turning some people off, you will never turn anybody on.
Got Mike right away. There is. Cut that. Replay that. You're vanilla. You're vanilla to everybody if you don't say something that's going to be bold, hold your ground, and stand out. That is a foundational concept here. Whether you tick people off or not, you've got to be a little bit different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so think about this. I'm going to quote the great business philosopher, Jerry Garcia.
Okay.
And Jerry Garcia said, you don't want to be considered, he was talking about the success of the Grateful Dead, which is like a weird, back in the day, very strange. It wasn't a rock band. It wasn't a folk band. It wasn't, blues. It was this kind of mashup. Mm-hmm. And, they had a whole culture and they had a whole vibe around what they were doing. So he was asked on a show, to what do you attribute the success of your music and your following and all of this? And he says, well, we've always lived by the philosophy that we don't want to be considered the best of the best. So we don't have the best musicianship. We sure don't have the best voices. We don't have the best songs. So in any of those categories, we're not going to win. We are not going to be the best of the best. But he says that doesn't matter. You don't want to be the best of the best. You want to be considered the only ones who do what you do.
So how do you get there? And again, your book, which we're going to dig into some, we're going to go other directions as well, but
Sure.
unignorable is the idea that goes through my head. We don't
Yeah.
want to be ignored anymore, but the noise is so loud, we're getting lost. So how do we become visible and show up the way you're talking about?
So visibility is absolutely 1/3 of the equation. It's one leg of the three stools. But let me tell you, the way that we get visible today needs to be dramatically different. The way that a lot of experts, companies, firms, individuals, consultants, speakers, the way that they used to get visible is by sharing content. Specifically, they would share how-to content. How to be a great leader, how to have amazing customer service, how to, do a performance review in 7 easy steps, any of those things. Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you, back end of 2025, all of 2026, and for the rest of the foreseeable future, how-to content is dead. You are not going to win on how-to content. AI can do how-to content 1,000,000 times better than you, me, or anyone else. And so please stop pumping out how-to content. What the world needs, what the world is hungry for, and right now what humans are uniquely qualified to put out into the marketplace for visibility is not how-to content, but how to think. So higher level strategic insight. So information has been completely commoditized. Please don't put any more information out there in your blogs and newsletters and videos and webinars. Information is over. We have now entered the age of insight, human-driven insight based on war stories, experience, expertise, opinion, recommendation, personal bias, personal slant, and personal lens. So your lens onto the world is way more important than static how-to information. So that's category number 1 of the new kind of content, is how to think. The second kind of new content for visibility, Rich, it's very important that we start sharing shift beliefs kinds of ideas. So for example, what to believe and what not to believe, how to separate the signal from the noise, how to separate the myths from the truths, how to even separate the myths from the half-truths or the comfortable truths or the outdated truths.
Yes.
And then the third area is, how do we get ready for what's coming next? Because no matter who it is that you sell to in a B2B environment, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a corporation, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's an executive, high-level people hate being blindsided and they hate being surprised by something that they could have seen coming, but for some reason they weren't prepared or they didn't have the insight to get ready for it. So here's where your content needs to be like Wayne Gretzky. We need to go to where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is today. So how can you start to share what's coming down the road 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, that you can start to prepare your audience and your stakeholders for what's coming next, so that they specifically don't get blindsided, don't get ambushed, and don't get nasty surprises.
So before we unpack all of that, everybody, take a breath. And by the way, David, can I say I love you? Because that is right on the mark of where I see the shift. We're talking about the shift, and you keep bringing up human. There's a human element that leaders need to bring back in. And I call it the heart, the soul.
Yes.
You need to go there now more than anything else, because we're tired of just information. Would you agree?
Amen. I could not agree more. Anytime so here's a fun litmus test for the folks watching and listening to us. If you look at your last blog post, your last Substack newsletter, your last LinkedIn article, if it is how to, and it does not have what Rich just talked about, right? The human aspect, the connection, the insight, the quirkiness, if it doesn't reflect all that you've done, all that you've learned, all that you've seen, and all that you've experienced, take that post down. Take that LinkedIn post down, delete that webinar, delete that video, do it over again as a human and not as an information source, because information sources are going to be totally drowned out. They're already totally drowned out,
yes.
But that's not the path to visibility.
No, as we looked at your book, I'm kind of curious. Here's how I kind of looked at it. you are reaching for a different thought leader here. You are
Yes.
reaching for people that are in a different wavelength. Are they mavericks? Are they change makers? What are these people that are trying to get in the category of one that you're aiming for?
Yes. So I think they're all of those things. So that, it's funny because the book has a subtitle and also has a super title.
Yeah.
And it says for mavericks, visionaries, and change makers. So a maverick is already someone who's going against the grain, someone who is already a bit of a revolutionary, a little bit of a rebel. A change maker is somebody who wants to magnify their impact in the world. They want to reach more people. They want to help more people. They want to have a wider circle of reach and a wider circle of positive influence on the world, on their industry, on the people that work for them, on the people that invest with them, what have you. And then, the visionaries are people who are seeing ahead. Those are folks that are already doing that. Here's what's coming down the road. The trend setters, the trend watchers, the people who are making the predictions. Here's what our industry is going to look like in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months. But sometimes they don't have that, they don't have that DNA of positioning and differentiation. So yes, they're helpful, but they're not that different. So I think each of those three categories, whether you're a maverick, whether you're a visionary, whether you're a change maker, putting all three of those sources of energy together to build what I call market eminence, that is what's going to make you be seen, be heard. And I think most importantly, I think you'll resonate with this, Rich.
Yeah.
They not only need to be seen and be heard, they need to be felt. They need to have an emotional impact in the marketplace. And sometimes the emotional impact is, I love that company. I love that guy. I love that gal. I love their message. And sometimes it's, they're clueless. They're wacky. They're fruity. They don't get it. They're totally pie in the sky. Not going to happen. Not going to work with them. Not going to buy from them. Either way is good. Both those responses, though, are felt, and they're not just seen and heard.
And I think for what you're speaking to and what I'm pounding on myself right now is AI is a tool, but AI will not get you to the heart.
That's right.
And I think that's where people are trying so hard with AI. They're losing the heart side. And you're exactly right, David. People want to feel something, whether they're for you or against you.
Yeah.
People want to feel something.
Yeah.
We're just doing this right now.
That's right.
Now,
the way I talk about this, Rich, is sometimes if I'm in front of an audience and I'm getting really heated up, I say, you do not want to be in the middle of the road. Do you know why you don't want to be in the middle of the road with those two yellow double lines? The middle of the road is where the roadkill is. So you want to be on the edge, right? You want to be on the fringe. You want to be safely out in the bushes and the weeds. You want to be literally out on a limb where you will not be run over by the 18-wheeler Mack truck that is coming for you and coming for your business and coming for your content. It's the people that are in the middle of the road that are going to get hit and squashed.
You do not want to be the bug on the windshield.
You do not.
So here's how I'm looking at this. I think for me, the leaders that you and I interact with, talk with, speak to is they think they're doing everything right in their own mind, and they're banging their heads against the wall right now because they're doing social, they're doing podcasts, and they're speaking, they're writing books. But they're still not breaking through, and they're getting tired, burnout, and frustrated because they don't know what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
How do we help them, first of all, before we get rolling here too much? How do we help that feeling as I'm fried?
So a lot of times when we talk about this concept of personal branding, personal branding, we look at, okay, we're going to add a whole bunch of things on top of what we're doing.
Yes.
Market eminence is really the opposite process. It's about removing the layers of gunk and the layers of junk. It's about freeing yourself to be more authentic, more connected, more vulnerable, and more relatable. So it really is, it's an unpacking and an unloading process. It's not about loading you up like a pack mule with all different kinds of marketing jobs and, doing 50 videos a day and shouting loudly and obnoxiously from the rooftops. That's a recipe for disaster. That's just a recipe for being annoying.
Right.
But I think this unlayering when most CEOs and business leaders hear me say that, they go, "Oh my God, thank God, that's such a relief." Because it's not about adding more, doing more,
No.
and gunking things up. It's about letting go of all of that and literally being more transparent, more connected, more authentic, and more relatable.
So I've got two things to glean on what you just said. I want to go back a little bit because the authentic word is the buzz of the century right now. People are
Sure.
talking about authentic. Some people are meaning in their mind that means I can show up lazy and not prepared. Can you bust that myth for me, please?
Sure, sure. So, there's a huge, and any sort of marketing, any sort of sales, any sort of business development, there's a lazy, disorganized, inconsistent way of
Yes.
doing it, and there is a disciplined, focused, and intentional way of doing it. That doesn't mean that it takes more time. That does mean that it takes more thinking. It takes more strategic insight to figure out what are the levers that we can amplify for our positioning. What are the levers and what are the triggers, if you will, if I can coin a term there? What are the triggers for our differentiation? And does this matter to our entire audience?
Here's the second part of what you said a few moments ago. And you've said something along the lines of thought leadership is not more about shouting louder. There's a quiet power
Yes.
that we need to learn about. And don't think people talk about this enough. We think we have to bang our fists, dance around, jump on stage, but there's a quietness that also people can get drawn to. You really care. You're listening to me. Speak to that quiet leadership.
Sure, sure. So this is about, you know, if you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs who you know and respect, and they might be corporate leaders, they might be entrepreneurial leaders, some are definitely high energy, fly through the screen, get all excited, jump up and down, because that's authentically who they are.
Right.
So, for example, I am one of these people, right? I have high
No.
energy, big, loud voice, jumping through the screen. Sometimes someone will come up to me and go, "Well, David, I'm not like you. I'm quiet. I'm an introvert. I don't have a big voice. I don't like to jump up and down." And I say, "Listen, there's 1,000 different expressions of enthusiasm. There's 1,000 different expressions of authenticity. The worst thing you can do if you're not like me is to try and be like me. The worst thing I could do is try and be like one of those more quiet, sage, respected, and so even if you think about the way people show up on camera.
Yes.
I learned this years and years ago. I think it's from some presentation skills coach, but there is I think it's called, there is it's like a projection type of speaker where the energy is out.
Yep.
And there's also a magnetic kind of speaker where the energy is in.
Yeah.
Right. The quieter you talk, the more people tend to listen. So for the people that say, "Well, I'm not going to shout, I'm not going to jump up and down, I'm not a high energy guy like Rich, I'm not a high energy guy like David," I say, fantastic. Amen. Cheers. Wonderful. That is great. So find your magnetic energy, own that, and start to project that magnetic energy into the marketplace so people can be drawn into you.
And it differentiates you. And people will say, "Oh," and it sticks longer. They remember you longer. They'll remember what you said longer.
That's right.
That's absolutely beautiful. What about those that are feeling they're late to the game? What about those that are feeling, "I want to be the category 1"?
Sure.
Man, but look, I just turned 60, David. People are saying, "Really, dude?" But I've always stayed in the game. There are a lot of people that did not stay in the game.
Yes.
Well, what about them now?
So, you could look at any area of endeavor, any industry, any field, and you can ask yourself, is it too late? Have I missed the train? Have I missed the boat? The answer is heck no. Absolutely not. In fact, I would say if you're feeling maybe I missed the train, here's the great news. AI is going to destroy 90% of your competition that is not doing the kinds of things that Rich is recommending to you, that is not doing the kinds of things that I'm recommending to you. So if anything, so think about an ocean or a tidal wave. The tidal wave is AI. 90% of the bathers on the beach, they are not wearing any swim trunks. They are not wearing any scuba gear, and the tsunami and the wave is coming. If you put on a bathing suit, preferably, please put on a bathing suit, and you put on the scuba gear, not only have you not missed the train, you will be among the first to stand head and shoulders above the crowd in this brave new world post-tsunami, right?
Yeah.
Post-AI adoption, when AI is a commodity. And, this reminds me of, Rich, you and I are about the same age because I just turned 61. We talk about the newer generations that came behind us.
Yeah.
And, well, this isn't really fair. You grew up with computers. Now there's going to be a generation, well, this really isn't fair because you grew up with AI. Of course they grew up with AI, but if you jump in now, you will be surfing the wave right along with them.
Now, with that, I recently had a conversation with someone who's getting into the brand of you. They're getting into standing out, being one, but something's switched now, and they think bold personality, obnoxious almost. The ego is so big. They think that's the boldness of a brand now. In your page, punch you in your face. We've got enough of that, don't we?
Oh my God, no. Ego is very unappealing. Ego is, and there are people, there are marketers, there are CEOs where that is a thing, and I think there's now enormous backlash. There's an enormous backlash around this cult of ego. So this is not about being loud for the sake of amplifying your own voice. This is being loud to reach more people. It's not even being loud. It's about amplification, to reach more people, to help more people, to serve more people. And I think that come from is everything, because people can smell that from a mile away. If your intention is simply self-aggrandizement, look at me, I'm so awesome, I'm so amazing, look at our company, look at our products, look at our services, that is, again, very easy to ignore and very easy to dismiss. If you're showing up with a value, if you're showing up with insight, if you're showing up not pitching your products and services, but pitching your point of view in order to help people affect change. And again, remember, the three personalities that we're appealing to here, it's not everyone, but it is the mavericks and the visionaries and the change makers. The successful mavericks, visionaries, and change makers are the ones that are in it to help others. They are not in it just to glorify themselves.
Well, you said servant.
Yeah.
Many people are driven by sales.
Yes.
There's a big gap between servant and sales. We all want to make money, have a profit, run a legitimate, good, strong business. But some are sales driven and the servant side gets left behind. How can we help those that are just scrambling and selling and they're pushing and they're just oozing out, begging you to buy instead of serving like you're talking about?
Yes. So I am very much against the begging, persuading, convincing, chasing. That is not the era that we're in right now. And, the best way that I have heard this articulated is our mutual friend, Terry Brock. And he said this to me about 10 years ago. I saw him do a presentation, and I come up to him afterwards. I said, number one, that was really amazing. That was incredibly generous of you. Thank you for sharing all those very specific insights, tactics, tools, tips, etc. And I said, you didn't spend a second telling us how we can buy from you. You didn't spend a second talking about your products or services. I said, what's up with that? And he looks at me in that Terry Brock way that he has. And he says, well, David, I just assume that my audience is smart. They know what I do. They can look it up. They can pop over to my website. They can find me on LinkedIn. If I can help them and they want to hire me, they want me to consult, they want me to be a spokesperson, they know where to find me. They're not dumb. And I was like, oh my God, that is so. The moment that you say that to most CEOs, experts, etc., you can see their shoulders relax. Like, oh my gosh, I don't need to constantly pitch, persuade, convince, and chase. I said, no, because people are smart. I quote our friend Terry Brock, right? They know the business that you're in. They know that you're not running a charity. They know that you're doing this with a commercial intent. If they have a need, if they have a referral, if they have something that they can, a problem that you can solve, you can be sure that your generosity and your giving mentality, they have put you at the top of the list. One of the things I talk about in the Market Eminence book is that era is over, and we are now in a new era where your only job in business development is filtering and sorting, right? There are people who are ready. There are people who are not. There are people who are good fits. There are people who are terrible fits. There are people who have your budget. There are people who do not have your budget. So your job is not to push, prod, poke, bother, interrupt, hassle. Your job is purely filtering and sorting. And while you're doing that, continue being of good service to the people that you want to help.
So stop bombarding David's and my email boxes, please. We don't need any more stuffing going on.
That's right.
Now, this is an area that I want to touch on. You being the one, being that brand of you, being that eminence. There's an area that I don't think I've ever really leaned into. I'm going to lean in this for a couple minutes with you, because there is something about being in the right room, right people, right stages, right deals happen behind doors. You and I both have been there. We've sat around. How do you get there? For those that are looking and saying, I just want one door to open, one connection. But when you get in those rooms, magic happens.
Yes. I think, so I'm going to give you the first baby step, maybe, towards that. The first baby step is to figure out, is there a piece of conventional wisdom in your industry, in your target market, that you secretly think is completely wrong, completely outdated, not helping your clients, not helping your audience, but you've never publicly challenged it? So in other words, you already have this positioning and this distinction behind closed doors.
Right.
And if we just started talking about that one thing, that one contrarian thought, that one myth buster, that one uncomfortable truth that most of your target market would immediately recognize and resonate with.
Yeah.
You've never said it out loud. I'm going to challenge people, put that in your next LinkedIn post, put that in your next Substack newsletter. Make your next YouTube short, your next YouTube video short about that. And the reason that this will help you get towards being in the right room, being on the right deals, the right stages, etc., is it will unleash, or it will at least start to unleash, an entire army of like-minded allies, colleagues, supporters, media partners. So we don't necessarily judge something on the merit of, is it true, is it false?
Right.
We judge it on, do I agree with that or not? And if you say something bold, contrarian, a little bit edgy as far as the point of view, people that agree with that, they are going to come out of the woodwork, Rich. They're going to say, hey, I saw that blog post. Man, we've been preaching and teaching that for years. I totally agree with you. How can I help you? How can we do something together? How can we partner? How can we collaborate? How can we, put a piece of content out there? Would you want to be on my podcast? I'd love to be on your podcast. All of these things, right?
Right.
So if you want to get into the right rooms, the right deals, and the right stages, start showing who you are, so that people that are aligned with that can come out of the woodwork and start to support you.
Now, speaking about the different rooms and places, we have to brave on bragging you just a moment here. You've done over 600 keynotes, as far as I can tell, multiple books. In fact, the Do It series is one of your great achievements. You have the new book here now. You work with top brands like IBM, Microsoft, PNC Bank. I can't list them all. Which one of those lanes do you think is the expertise or exposure one that drives you and your brand? The speaking, the authorship, the business center? Which one drives that for you?
So I am going to cheat and give you a 3-part answer because it really is kind of a self-reinforcing system. So once you have the positioning, the differentiation, all of these things dialed in, then we go to the amplification process. How do we get this out into the marketplace? How do we reinforce this? How do we make larger ripples with the stones that we're throwing into the lake?
Yes.
And the 3 legs of the stool are speaking, publishing, and podcasting. And when I say speaking, it does not have to be paid professional speaking like the kind that you and I do. It can simply be speaking to local groups. It could be speaking at the local chapter of your trade and professional association, doing a monthly program. It could be speaking on a video. It could be speaking on a webinar that you're hosting for your constituents. So speaking is fantastic because speaking raises your visibility. Publishing is the second part. Now, I don't mean, again, publishing, the ultimate version of that is publishing a book.
Right.
Most people I work with, the CEOs, founders, they don't feel the need to publish a book, but publish your thoughts in writing. Have what I call indisputable points of proof. So that could be a newsletter. That could be a blog. That could be on LinkedIn. That could be on Substack. That could be wherever. That could be, publish an industry report, publish a trends report, publish client case studies, publish things that put your expertise into a tangible, credible form, because publishing drives credibility. So we have the speaking for visibility, we have the publishing for credibility, and then the third piece of this is podcasting. And Rich, you know this from being a very seasoned host and very seasoned media personality. I know this from having my podcast, both on the guesting side and the hosting side. Podcasting is amazing because you get to borrow other people's audiences.
Yes.
So imagine if you're in financial services, there's going to be 20 amazing financial services podcasts that have hundreds of thousands, millions possibly, of listeners and subscribers. You don't want to start that audience from scratch. You want to be a guest on those shows, add value to that show and to that host, borrow their audience, and then make them aware of you and your company and your platform. So podcasting builds shareability. So if you put all 3 of those together, the speaking builds your visibility, the publishing builds your credibility, and the podcasting builds your shareability.
So which one for you drives your business? Which one's
I'm
number
gonna
one?
go with publishing.
You also give away free content. I think part of the other missing thing is leaders, thought leaders, they get stingy and you got to pay for everything. I think there's something to being that category of 1, that eminency you're talking about is freely give.
Yes.
Speak to that, please.
Sometimes people say, well, I'm afraid of giving too much away, or I don't want to give that away. That's where I make the big bucks.
Right.
Now, think about this, whether it's a video, whether it's a webinar, whether it's an asset, whether it's a tool, framework, calculator, whatever it is that you have. If information led to results, and you go into your favorite online bookstore, you walk into a bricks and mortar bookstore, there's an enormous weight loss section, and there's an enormous money management section. If it was all in the content, my friends, we would all be thin, tall, sexy, and have a full head of hair. Obviously, Rich and I are not on board with that. We are not the full head of hair club. And no matter how many books we read, that's not going to happen on its own without some outside intervention.
Yeah.
Your company, your products, your services are not built on information. They are built on implementing that information. So literally, I've written, this is my 4th book now. If all my, and I literally give everything away. I literally give everything away in the pages of these books. There's nothing held back. It is client facing. Sometimes even the source of what I write about is what I do with clients, and I simply put that into book form.
Yep.
People say, aren't you afraid people are going to read your book and not hire you? I was like, you know what? Maybe 5%. 5% have the discipline, have the intentionality, have the work ethic to actually implement everything that I'm writing about. Just like 5% of people read a weight loss book and drop 20 pounds. 5% of people read a money management book and they start to have $1 million 401k.
Right.
And God bless the do-it-yourselfers. That's awesome. That's amazing. 95% of your market, however, needs you. It needs you as the missing ingredient between the information that you write about and that you publish versus the implementation and the results that they need to make forward progress in their business and their life and their world.
And I think it goes back to that trust. Wow, they gave it away.
Yeah.
I have to call David now. I have to call Trigger because I want to know more about how that really applies to me personally, not to the general world. I think it's a great way. So, since we're talking about things, here's your website, David. He does have things to give away for free, but he's got a lot more there. Tell us about your website.
Sure. So there's all kinds of stuff on there, as you just mentioned. So there is a blog. There's our podcast, which is called The Selling Show. Everything related to the new book, Market Eminence, you will find on there. There's free downloads, resources, tools, worksheets. So all of that is at doitmarketing.com. The book resources specifically takes you to a page on that site, but the shortcut to get there is simply marketeminence.com.
So check it out, scan the QR code. So go see what David's got cooking because he's always got something going on. You don't want to miss any of it. Now, our crack team went out and did some research on you. It's a little bit fun here. So we're going to have a little fun question, but also we're going to expose you a little bit because I've learned you're a game junkie. You love retro games like Atari, Nintendo, Space Invaders, Donkey Kong, and the list goes on and on. So first of all, what are you playing right now?
Fantastic question. So I am right now, it's retro today, but it wasn't retro back in the day. I am having a lot of fun on my PlayStation 2 playing a driving game called Burnout 3. But I'm also playing quite a bit of Pac-Man these days. Pac-Man is my old school OG go-to right now.
Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Pac-Man Family. Which one? Just the original Pac-Man?
Well, so you now we're talking connoisseur, high-level stuff. My drink of choice there is going to be Ms. Pac-Man.
Ms. Pac-Man.
Ms. Pac-Man.
Now, we're going to go a little bit deeper here. So, if the new book, if Market Eminence, the concept, the book, was a musical genre, what would it be like? What would the headline be? What would the concert vibe be of Market Eminence?
Well, I think it wouldn't be fair to quote this guy and not have him also be the music genre. I think it would be the Grateful Dead. I think it would be the Grateful Dead. You don't want to be the best of the best. You want to be considered the only ones who do what you do, is the Jerry Garcia quote. So that's a shoo-in. That's easy.
So let's turn it now into a movie cameo because I love film, TV. So let's say you could give one of your clients a celebrity cameo. The moment of a movie to boost their brand. What movie would you drop one of your clients? Without reviewing the client, of course, but
Sure.
What film would you drop them into?
So people need to know I was not prepared for any of these questions.
That's why we do it, man. That's my
spontaneous surprise questions. But I have a fast answer for this one too. It's the Big Lebowski.
Oh, no way.
It is. It's the dude. It's the dude.
So as we wind down here today, David, I just want to land the plane really well here today. For those listening who are really wanting to step up, make this leap forward, what's the first actionable step today that they can really take to market eminency and be that one that stands out?
I would say I'm going to go back to a different flavor or a different aspect of the advice that I gave earlier. So earlier I said, look at one piece of conventional wisdom that you would like to blow up. I'm going to give you another one that's related and that will also help you get to the top here much more quickly. What bold prediction about your industry would make your competitors uncomfortable if you publicly stated it, but most of your clients and prospects would agree with? So take that bold prediction, market test it, put it out there, and see who comes out of the woodwork. See what happens.
Oh, I love that. I love it. David Newman, thanks for being on Rock the Stage tonight and sharing so much wisdom, and good luck with a new book as well.
Thank you, my friend. So much fun to be here.
Wow, Rock the Stage. And again, David brought it tonight. He was sharing a lot of great stuff. But I think one of the things, I'm going to go back to the beginning again. He was talking about being strategic and how your uniqueness stands out. Don't be a clone, everybody. Don't try to be the same, but don't try to go too far and just be crazy and silly about it. But there is something unique about you. Build that into your brand. Make that distinction part of your identity, because really people do want to know you, like you, trust you. And there's something about the familiarity of a smile, a good warm handshake, or a virtual hug that can change things like nothing else. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Rock the Stage Show. 2026 is officially up and running. Come back every week and join us on Roku, Amazon Fire, YouTube, IPTV, and of course the Bravehearts TV network. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of Rock the Stage Show.